The upcoming video is part of my brand new online course, Filming with Drones. The course teaches you how to record pro-looking aerials with pretty much any drone. From the planning and the production until the editing and color grading process on the computer. All relevant topics are included. The course features more than 40 video lessons, as well as pretty amazing printable cheat sheets that you can carry with you, and of course plenty of knowledge quizzes. Enroll now on www.tomstechtime.com/courses. Create breathtaking and professional aerials. The first perspective that I want to introduce is named High Panoramic View. As the name already promises, we see a lot. The entire surrounding opens up to the eyes of the audience, slowly unveiling more and more details. This shot is great to introduce a new surrounding. It is a great sequence opener. To perform it, you raise your drone to a higher altitude and then start to fly backward in a straight line. Flying backward is helpful twice. First, it unveils the scenery because you constantly see new parts of the scene appearing and you don't know what comes next. That creates tension. Secondly, when flying backward, your propellers usually won't be visible in the recordings, which can happen when instead flying forward. Keep the shot steady for about 6 until 10 seconds minimum. Next in line is another sequence opener. It is named the look-up shot. Next in line is the look-up shot. Again, it is a sequence opener, this time though a more dramatic looking, usually longer shot. Performing it is simple. You point the camera all the way down to the ground. Then you either start to fly forward or backward. In this case, it is up to you which flight direction you choose. You now steadily and slowly begin to tilt the gimbal up while constantly flying your straight path. This shot should not be used often, as it is slow and takes time, but it makes a great opener to a new scene. The unveiling shot is next, and it is a very powerful and impressive aerial shot that should find its way into every production. The unveiling shot is a technique that can be used several times in a project. It is easy to set up and very impressive. It works with a fore and a background. The drone flies forward and slowly raises height, in the beginning only seeing the foreground. It can be trees, buildings or other obstacles. The drone then at some point reaches a height that is higher than the foreground obstacle, unveiling the entire scenery in the background in a very spectacular way. The unveiling shot can be performed in different ways. While the shown version is the easiest and most common one, you can get creative and change it. Instead of trying to show a wide scenery, for example, you can try to instead look down into an obstacle. There are many ways to perform the unveiling shot. Now comes my favorite perspective of all, the pullback shot. The pullback shot is not only my favorite, but it might even be the most powerful of all shots. The technique is simple. The drone flies, usually on a low altitude, a continuous straight line backward. That way you can unveil a scenery perfectly. Instead of flying forward, where the audience already knows which obstacles you're going to pass by, flying backward makes this shot so unpredictable. No one knows which object might appear next. This shot can and should be used several times in every aerial project.
Let's now talk about two very classical aerial perspectives, two head-over shot, and I want to get started talking about the rotating rocket.
The rotating rocket is a classical aerial perspective. The camera of the drone tilts all the way down to the ground. But instead of performing a rocket flight straight up, you add rotation. While raising height, make the drone slowly rotate around its own axis. This shot looks majestic and should find its way into every aerial project.
Next off is the head-over shot, where the drone's camera points all the way to the ground. It's a very classical perspective.
The head-over shot is another shot where the camera faces all the way to the ground. This time though, it is not about raising height, but instead about flying either forward, backward, right or left. The greatest danger of this shot and the easiest way to ruin it is to fly too low and too fast. Make sure to gain some height while setting up the shot and then fly slow, as rapid motion won't look pleasing to the audience's eyes. The head-over shot should not be overused, only sparely here and there. It enhances aerial projects.
Let's add some Hollywood style. How about taking a look at the camera crane shot that I copied from the film industry?
The camera crane shot is another very classical shot, copied from the film industry. It is simple, but its look purely cinematic. Think of your drone as of a camera crane. You start low, making the camera tilt up a bit. Then you begin to raise height, while slowly tilting the camera down, not all the way, just a bit. While back in the days, setting up these shots with huge camera cranes was a whole lot of work, with modern drones it is not only more comfortable, but there are fewer limitations. You can perform a camera crane shot without being limited to the height of your gear. That means that you can not only film small shots, but you can even film towers and the nature with a gigantic camera crane. The camera crane perspective should as well appear in every aerial production. It is a perspective that we are used to from high-quality Hollywood film productions, and we should go ahead and use that for our own projects.
The next perspective is again totally basic. It's named the flyby shot, and it must appear in every aerial production.
The flyby shot does what its name promises. The drone flies by an impressive looking object, always keeping it in the center of the frame. Several modes help you perform this shot well. With DJI drones, I can recommend using the course lock mode to perform this move. Another hint is not to fly too fast. It is another classical perspective that adds a cinematic touch to every project.
Ordinary cinematography has led the way towards the next shot. It's named the dolly shot. We all know what a dolly is. A dolly is usually this wagon that the camera sits on that then drives from A to B, a steady line. So let's take a look at how we can use that when filming with drones.
Furthermore, there is the dolly shot,
Again, the idea comes from ordinary ground cinematography. The drone and its camera either gently fly left or right, creating a steady air travel. No motion should be applied to the gimbal and the drone should not be rotated. Just fly left or right. It is that easy. This shot again looks the best when not only having a beautiful view, but when adding a foreground layer that makes the audience feel the motion.
Last but not least, the tripod shot.
In the end, there is the tripod shot. As the name already states, the camera does not really move around this time. Like on a tripod, the drone steadily hovers in air, not flying to any direction. The only move it performs is a slight right or left rotation, like on a tripod. To not make this shot look boring, make sure to find a perspective that you could never reach with a normal tripod.
Now if you go out and mix all of these shots and get creative and not only stick to one certain perspective but mix them all up, then you'll be able to really create some very interesting looking, professional looking productions. And as you can see, it doesn't take any fancy skills, it doesn't take crazy camera moves. Usually it's basics. Usually it's a straight line, usually it's a half circle that you fly. You just have to stick and stay to the perspectives that were developed for normal ground cinematography and just adapt them a bit. You know, now for example, we don't have a limited dolly anymore, so we cannot just push our camera wagon 5 to 10 meters, but now we have a drone. That means we have an unlimited dolly, meaning that we have just pushed the boundaries of standard cinematography. That again means that we don't have to get crazy, we don't have to come up with crazy new perspectives. We should give the audience what they're used to, and we should just use the extra bit of freedom that we get from flying drones instead of using ground cameras.